Hello, and welcome to Founder Freedom, From Hustler to CEO, the podcast built for e-commerce entrepreneurs and small business owners who are ready to work less, earn more, and scale smarter. I'm your host, Stephen Palmer, and today we're talking about if you've ever wondered what it takes to turn a personal frustration into a high-end product and market it with style, this episode is your blueprint. Let's jump in with Darrell Jennings, co-founder of American Music Furniture. Welcome, Darrell. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, Stephen.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about the American Music Furniture value proposition for our listeners?
Sure. Our main value proposition is in preserving the instruments that go in our cabinets, be they acoustic guitars, electric guitars, mandolins, ukuleles, etc. All of the instruments that are out there can be damaged by too little or too much humidity. It's a problem that I encountered personally. So ultimately, it led to me co-founding a company to try and help others solve that problem.
Nice. So your inspiration was your own frustration.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And for the listeners here, it's kind of related to where you live in the country, where it's kind of moist, right?
Very much so. There are people out there that are lucky enough to live in locations that have very consistent levels of humidity that are friendly to musical instruments, but there are many more people that live where it is either too dry, particularly in the wintertime, because cold air doesn't hold much humidity. Warm air holds sometimes too much humidity. So if you live in a place that gets particularly cold in the wintertime, or a place that's very hot and humid in the summertime, you're dealing with the challenging aspects of trying to avoid damage to your musical instruments.
So that kind of leads us into the next question, which is what major problem did you see in the marketplace that you were trying to solve? And it's just kind of like around that, right?
I moved from Texas to Pennsylvania almost 30 years ago and had a couple of very nice high-end luthier-made guitars with me. And the first winter here, I had both guitar tops crack. And I was heartbroken, got in touch with my buddy Kent Everett, who had built the guitars for me. And he said, yeah, send them back down to me. I'll get them repaired for you, but you're going to be able to tell they've been repaired. And when he sent them back, he said, man, you got to get serious about humidification. So after that, I tried various different ways of humidifying and had different levels of success. There's everything from a little, $10 hose with holes in it and a sponge in the middle you can put into a guitar case. Problem with that is you've got to check it almost every day because they dry out very quickly. I had a room humidifier that I used, but that required putting about 3 gallons of water a day in it. What I found was that humidity goes through sheetrock like it's not even there. And during the wintertime, you get, beads of water going down the windows in your room. You've got the potential problem of getting mold in the insulation in your walls. So I was not happy with that, and particularly not happy because I was traveling a lot at the time. And every phone call home would be to my wife saying, honey, have you checked the water in the guitar room humidifier? Not really what she wanted to hear. Those did understand it was one of the guitars that had been cracked was hers.
Yeah. It's conversations like that, though, when you're traveling, that could be a relationship killer.
Yeah. And if we've got just a moment, I could kind of explain what happens. Got a guitar top here, and the wood grain and guitar tops go, kind of from one end to the other. So it's all going this direction. But if you flip it around, you see the back of the guitar top has got braces on it. Well, the wood grain and the braces are going a different direction. And wood expands about 10% more across the width of the grain than it does the length of the grain. So if the humidity is going up and down, those braces are starting to come off the top, and the top itself can crack. And when you've got valuable instruments, that's a big deal. Guitars have actually been, if you knew what you were buying, one of the best places you could keep your money. They've actually outperformed the stock market and the real estate market over the last couple of decades.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So thanks for that education. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the existing way of handling the humidification problem that you thought were broken or inefficient?
Well, as I said, I tried humidifying a room, and it was always frustrating, and I was worried about what it was doing in my house. So my brother-in-law, who co-founded the company with me, also was a guitar player, was over, and we were playing some songs in my music room. And I said, we don't need to humidify the whole room if we just humidify where the guitars are. So we did. And he looked at me, and, the furniture store in his career, and said, yeah, we can do that. And we started doing our research and development the next week, checking out what
Nice.
humidifiers were available, checking out what dehumidifiers or dehumidification technologies were available.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother-in-law also understood that if you're going to build a cabinet that has a different level of humidity inside the cabinet than you've got in the ambient air in the room, you've got to have a way of dealing with it so that the cabinet can expand and contract as that humidity changes,
Right.
which most pieces of furniture are not designed to do.
Right. I've seen examples of that too.
Yeah,
That's pretty.
we often get people that say, well, I've got a beautiful old armoire from my grandmother and I'm just going to put a humidifier in it. And, depending on where you live, that might work if you don't get big humidity changes. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're going with a 45% level of humidity in the cabinet and it's got 15% in your room, then the
Yeah.
cabinet will start cracking the way a
Right.
guitar top would.
Right. Yeah. So how does this solution solve the problem better than all the alternatives out there?
Well, it's quite reliable. It's got an active humidifier built into the base of each of these cabinets. It includes a controller that lets you set the desired humidity level, and we typically recommend 45%. Some customers seem to have other opinions, and we give them the ability to set it where they want. The water in it will typically go about 6 weeks in a really dry climate, so it does last quite a long time. If living here in the Northeast, I probably fill my humidifier up about 3 times a winter.
Okay.
So if you're going away on a trip or vacation, unless you're putting it into a ski home that you only go to a handful of times a year, that gives you plenty of capacity to keep the cabinet humidified. And the guitars stay at a nice 45% level of humidity throughout the year.
Yeah, that sounds very nice and convenient.
The other issue is, well, what if you have too much humidity?
Mhm.
If you're living in a more tropical environment, New Orleans, South
Oh,
Florida,
yeah.
places like that, even parts of California that are right near the coast, then you can get too much humidity, particularly in the summer when the weather is warm. So we include as an option a active dehumidifier membrane that goes in the cabinet. It's completely silent and it breaks down the H2O into hydrogen and oxygen, pumps the hydrogen out of the cabinet and maintains that 45% level of humidity. We've got a few cabinets. We have a customer in Singapore, for example, that only uses dehumidification. And if you live in an environment where it's hot and humid, it's just as potentially damaging to the instruments as the dry air in the midwinter or the mountains or desert might be.
Yeah, that's great. You got both sides of the equation covered. If I'm a new customer, Darrell, and I'm looking at your website, what would you say is the biggest misconception that people have about what your company does?
Probably the biggest misconception is around the fact that, oh, it's just a standard piece of furniture that I could go out and buy a $200 humidifier and throw into a cabinet I've already got, and it will do the same thing. What they're missing is how their cabinet was constructed. Is it going to expand and contract with the humidity? Is it sealed well enough to keep the humidity inside? And it's something that if you live in the right place and you take your time and don't have too big a difference in humidity in the room versus in your cabinet, you may get away with it, but you're far more likely to actually damage the cabinet that you put them in. The other value proposition, frankly, is that these are beautiful frames for the art that is the instruments inside them. Certainly people that collect guitars, and these are aimed at people that are passionate about vintage guitars and high-end luthier-made guitars, they want to be able to look at them. I have customers that just thoroughly enjoy sitting down with an adult beverage and playing the guitar and looking at the rest of their collection.
Yeah, that's definitely what it's all about, right?
Absolutely. We really like to think we can create an environment that just facilitates you jumping right into the music and musical activities that you enjoy, be it playing guitar, listening to music, and spending a bit of time away from the pressures of the day, being passionate about something that you've invested time and money in.
Yeah, that's an awesome way to enjoy it. So can you share a success story, either like from a customer or maybe a bigger picture, kind of a business mission statement that you might have solved that you're proud of?
Well, I think that solving is always an ongoing process. We've done over time bigger and bigger collections. We've just installed one in California for a client with over 100 guitars. He's got 80 guitars in one cabinet.
Wow.
And is something that we did for him custom. He is in the music industry, not a performer, but someone that is passionate about their guitar collection. And like a few other customers with large capacity cabinets, these guys have millions of dollars invested in their collection. And the fact that a guitar top can crack, you may have a guitar that's worth $100,000. If it gets a crack in it, it's probably just dropped to be a $50,000 guitar because, like collecting any vintage collectible, everybody wants the all original, just like it came off the showroom floor.
Right.
And anything that takes away from that is certainly going to drop the value. So it's been great for us to meet these collectors, talk to them about their problems. We've done consulting with music studios, as well as now we're starting to do some implementations in music studios. We've just completed doing the control room for Swamp Raga Studios, where Tedeschi Trucks Band records down in Jacksonville, Florida.
Nice. That's awesome. So what trends do you feel now that you're kind of deep into it that might be shaping the future of your business?
Well, I think the trend at this point is that you've got a lot of people that are building the music equivalent of a man cave. And in many cases, the people doing that are women. So it's a woman's cave as well, if you are passionate about your music.
Nice.
And it's a place where guitars and other instruments come together with listening to music. Vinyl, of course, has increased dramatically in popularity. We work with companies that do vinyl storage. And in fact, you can do vinyl storage in some of our cabinets. So we're trying to build an entire ecosystem around creating that room in terms of the sound quality, the instrument preservation, and just the enjoyment of being able to be where you want to be and where you want to spend time with your music.
Yeah, that's great. So thinking about other business owners that might be listening to this program, what advice do you have for them to stay ahead of the curve in whatever that they're doing?
Well, obviously listening to your customers. Many of our enhancements and options and special customizations have turned into features in our product.
Mm-hmm.
We have a special neck retention system called the necktie that was designed for one of our early customers that was worried about guitars falling over in an earthquake in California. It's just a cool way to retain the guitars in the neck and neck rest. And so we do get customers still asking for it.
That's great.
We also have found that social media has been a great way for reaching out to clients. You always get the question of how do I reach my clients? And it's particularly complicated when you've got a product that maybe didn't exist before. So when we start building these, we were thinking, well, people aren't likely to go out and Google a humidified guitar cabinet.
Right.
They might now, but 13 years ago when we started, they wouldn't have. And so we did some print advertising in high-end guitar magazines, and we still do a bit of that. But an awful lot of our effort has been in trying to show the cabinets, show the features of the cabinets, and put all of that in Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the various multimedia, social media sites where people can look at what we do and go, well, that's cool. I want to learn more about that.
Nice. So education-based marketing. I like it.
Absolutely.
I like it. Well, looking ahead, what's next for your company, Darrell?
We already have a product that we're about to bring out this summer that will complement the collection that we've got already and be aimed at locations that don't have as big a humidity problem. It's more about display. We also have moved into the space of making some high-end guitar hangers. Got one here that you can probably see that, we sell quite a few of these. They're made out of premium wood, hand-polished brass, leather that's been tested by Martin Guitar Company for us so that we know what we're going to finish on the guitars. And these have been very popular. So it's really expanding the product line to encompass other things that might be going into a music room that people may need outside of just the humidified cabinets.
Super smart. Love it. So thanks for sharing all that. How can our listeners get more involved with what you're building? What's the best place to send them?
Well, certainly they can go to our website, www.americanmusicfurniture.com. We have it set up so you can order the products on there, even the humidified cabinets. We do occasionally have some that are in stock that can be shipped immediately. Those that are custom ordered can take a little bit longer, but most of our products now are shipping within about 3 to 6 months at the most.
Okay.
And if you want to see more examples, we've got a very active Instagram page at American Music Furniture, as well as a Facebook page.
Nice. Well, thanks, Darrell. And thanks, everybody, for joining us on Founder Freedom today. A huge thanks to Darrell Jennings for taking us behind the scenes at American Music Furniture, where art, utility, and preservation meet in handcrafted harmony. Want to see what premium music storage really looks like? Visit AmericanMusicFurniture.com and follow their incredible builds and Guitar Show on social media. You want more stories like Darrell's? Be sure to follow, rate, and share Founder Freedom wherever you get your podcasts. Every listen helps us spotlight more founders who are rewriting the rules of business on their terms. And that is all.